And
Good morning, everyone. We want to welcome you all to Reading 365. I am Floyd Stokes, and we are so glad that you've joined us this morning. We have two fantastic readers, two fantastic books. We're joined by Susan and Michelle. And Susan is a retired nurse. And thank you so much, Susan, for serving the community for so many years. She's here in Harrisburg, and she has an attic, a treasure trove of books that she can choose from. And she chose one very special book for us this morning. And Michelle, she's also here in Harrisburg. She used to be a teacher, but she still works in education in school as a development officer. And she has two children, 11 and 13. Both she's read to, and she's here to share a book that she's read to her kids. So we're so glad that you guys have joined us, and we're excited to hear these stories from both of you all this morning. So, Susan, which book do you have for us this morning, please?
I have The Giant Jam Sandwich.
Wonderful. You can take it away, please.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Miss Sue, and I want to read to you The Giant Jam Sandwich. It is story and pictures by John Vernon Lord with verses by Janet Burroway. Wait a minute. That means there's verses. Oh, okay. We'll be ready. There's something I want to show you, though. At the very back of the book, there's 3 wasps. They're the 3 that got away. What happened to the other ones? Let's find out. This is a very old book. My children aren't young anymore. And they read this book, and my grandchildren read this book. And here again it says The Giant Jam Sandwich. Story and pictures by John Vernon Lord with verses by Janet Burroway. Just words. Yeah, more words. And now we get a picture. One fine summer in Itching Down, 4 million wasps flew into town. Uh-oh. They drove the picnickers away. They chased the farmers from their hay. They stung Lord Swell on his fat, bald pate. They dived and hummed and buzzed and ate. So the villagers cried, "What can we do?" The noisy, nasty nuisance grew, and the villagers cried, "What can we do?" Well, these guys are trying nets and spray and swatters, and it's not working. So they called a meeting in the village hall, and Mayor Muddlenut asked them all, "What can we do?" And everybody said, "Good question," but nobody had a good suggestion. 4 million wasps, huh? Then Bap the baker, where is he? Bap the baker leaped to his feet and said, "What do wasps like best to eat?" "Strawberry jam." "Now wait a minute. If we made a giant sandwich, we could trap them in it." The gentleman cheered, the lady squealed, and Farmer Seed said, "Use my field." Oh, so they're going to make this big sandwich, huh? Okay, wonder if I can have a bite. All right, now we're back to pictures. Bap, remember he's the baker. Bap gave instructions for the mixing of the dough. Mix flour from above and yeast from below, salt from the seaside, water from the spout. Now thump it, bump it, bang it about. While they were working and working hard, some more made a tablecloth out in the yard. I'm not sure you can see the tablecloth, But you look out the door of the barn here and you see the tablecloth, and here's the bread. When they were done, the dough was left to rise till the loaf was a mountain in shape and size. They hitched it up with a bit of a fuss to tractors, cars, and the village bus. I see the bus. They took it to an oven they had built on the hill, 50 cookers in an old brick mill. My pages are sticking together. I'm having trouble. Here we go. For hours and hours they let it cook. They let it cook till the windows shook. It was piping hot when they took it out, and the villagers raised a mighty shout. Isn't it crusty? Aren't we clever? But the wasps were just as bad as ever. Okay, what's next? I didn't know my pages would stick together. The village bus, they all agreed, would spoil the fields of farmer seed. So 8 fine horses pulled the bread to where the picnic cloth was spread. I see wasps everywhere. A truck drew up and dumped out butter, and they spread it out with a flap and a flutter. Spoons and spades, slap and slam, and they did the same with the strawberry jam. They're making a giant sandwich, remember? Meanwhile, high above the field, 6 flying machines whirred and wheeled, waiting for the wasps to take the bait, and then there was nothing to do but wait. Suddenly the sky was humming. All 4 million wasps were coming. They smelled that jam. They dived and struck, and they ate so much that they all got stuck. The other slice came down kersplat, and that was that. There were only 3 that got away, and where they are now, I cannot say. But they never came back to Itching Down, which is not a waspish sort of town, but a very nice place to dance and play, and that's what the villagers did that day. They also had some bread to eat, because they have an awful lot of bread there. And they're dancing and eating bread. They're having a big party for the whole town. What became of the sandwich? Well, in Itching Down, they like to tell how the birds flew off with it in their beaks and had a feast for 100 weeks. The end.
Fantastic. What an adventure that was. Wonderful. I've never heard that book, but it was such a joy to hear you read that book, Susan. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're going to discuss the book after Michelle reads her book. So thank you. Michelle, what do you have for us today, please?
I have Macduff Comes Home by Rosemary Wells and Susan Jeffers.
Macduff is adorable. Can't wait to hear the story.
All right. Let's see what happens. There he is. All right, there's the title page. Here we go. Macduff's corner of the garden was just under the kitchen, where he could hear the voices of the people he loved. There, Macduff relaxed and breathed in all the wonderful smells that escaped from the window. The snappy smell of Fred's frying sausages, the velvety smell of Lucy's vanilla rice pudding. One day, the window was closed. There was nothing to smell or hear. Suddenly, Macduff saw something move in the neighbor's garden. It was a fat rabbit. Zoom went the rabbit through the zinnias. Macduff squeezed through the fence after it. His collar and tag caught on the fence. Snap went his collar, and it fell off behind him. The rabbit zigzagged over the neighbor's lawn and whizzed across the street. Macduff zigzagged and whizzed too. Over hills and streets and flower beds, the rabbit scurried and skedaddled with Macduff right on his tail until it found a hole and shot in. Macduff could not follow. Macduff was so tired from chasing the rabbit that he lay down in someone's vegetable garden and fell asleep. The little tired little puppy. When Macduff woke up, he looked around. He could not see his kitchen window. He could not smell sausages or vanilla rice pudding. He could not hear any voices he knew. Mrs. Higgins came out to weed her garden. "Who's that under my eggplants?" she asked. Mrs. Higgins looked for Macduff's collar and tag and could not find them. "We will go to the police station," she said, "and see if there is anybody there to pick you up." Mrs. Higgins drove Macduff up Main Street and down Pine Road and over the bridge to Oak Lane. Suddenly, Macduff smelled vanilla rice pudding. "Woof!" said Macduff. Mrs. Higgins turned left. Then Macduff heard someone he loved calling his name. "Woof!" said Macduff. She turned right. Then he saw his own house at number 7 Elm Road. Lucy and Fred were calling for him. "Woof, woof," he said, and Mrs. Higgins stopped. "His collar is gone," said Lucy. "How did you know where to bring him?" "I guess I understand dog language," she said. Everyone was hungry. Lucy made some apple pie and sandwiches. Fred gave Macduff his favorite treat, a small dish of vanilla rice pudding with a sausage sliced on top. The end. As you can see, this book is well loved by children.
No, that's beautiful. Awesome. I love that. I typically don't give, torn or very worn books to other people, but I love to get those classics. I'll go to a flea market or yard sale or, what have you, and grab, those books and just enjoy them, right? And those are two beautiful examples of classic books. And the common thing there for me between the two books is food.
Sandwiches!
Isn't that funny? and at the end of both, everybody came together for a feast, right? And that's just beautiful. So no, thank you both for that. Food solves a lot of problems, and I think at the end of this whole pandemic, we're gonna have a feast, right?
So nice.
Yeah. So Susan, why don't you share with us, why you chose that particular book, and tell us a little bit about, maybe your journey with reading and books.
Well, there are probably two reasons that I chose the book. I like this book a whole lot. I never see it anywhere. I
Right.
think I'm the only one in the world who has this book. That is not the case. Amazon has it. But the other reason is that when I went up to the attic to choose a book, it was cold, so I picked one of the ones on top.
Okay.
As a matter of
Okay.
fact, I picked two of the ones on top.
Yes.
Okay. And what
Okay.
was your other question? I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't write.
your journey into the love of reading. Did you read to your kids when they were little?
Yes, I did. And we read picture books when it was appropriate to read picture books. And then we kind of transitioned into chapter books, and we moved along into usually the junior version of some of the classics, as long as they weren't sappy. I don't know. Black Beauty is a book that has been written into about, I don't know, 50 sappy versions, you know.
Yeah.
But I can remember reading lots of different books. I remember reading Treasure Island and getting used to the archaic language, and the children didn't have any trouble whatsoever,
Right. Yeah.
you know.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Michelle, Macduff was a fun little character. Why did you select that book to share with us this morning?
Well, my 11-year-old son helped me to make some choices when I told him what I was doing. And that book in particular, we happened to find some old little clips of video from when he and his sister were really little. And we have a little video clip of him reading this book when he was maybe 2 or
Oh,
3. And he,
Wow.
of course, couldn't read it, but he remembered the story really well. And
Yes.
you have him in his baby voice saying, Zoom to the lineage.
yeah,
Now
right.
he's older, but yeah, I remember going to the library with my mom when I was little and taking out stacks of books. As many
Right.
as they would let us take, and make sure we got them back on time. And my son and I just walked to the library the other day and got some books too. It was a long trek, but it was worth it. And he said on the way, I'm really grateful for this library.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow. That's extremely special when we can share time with our children and reading around books, right? And have them go to the library. That's one of the tips that we give, to parents if they're looking to, read, encourage their children to read more. And that is, take them to the library, let them pick out that book. They're more apt to read it if they have picked it up, right?
For sure. I think when I taught high school English, um, I taught at a school where attendance was really a problem. And I decided that the very first homework assignment I was going to give, because most kids came the first day of school, was to get a library card. That was their homework assignment. And I figured even if they stopped coming to school or they had struggles throughout the year, if they had that library card, that was the most important thing I could give them for the year. Even if I never saw them, they had access to those books. So
No, that's beautiful, and I'm sure some of them, like you said, it's their first time, going to the library, or they didn't know that they could get a library card, and it's just opened up a whole new world of opportunities to expose them to wonderful books. Yeah, no, that's really great thing that you did there. So, do you have a video of your son reading? We could do a share screen today. No, just kidding. He would love that, right?
it would
What's
take
that?
yeah.
Well, I didn't hear you.
I don't think I can find it. It would require some digging.
No, I was kidding. I was kidding. So when you were an English teacher, what are some of the books that you would assign, your students to read? Some of the classics or something like that. Some books that stick out that were successful for you.
Well, this was at the high school level.
Yes.
Mom and my sister taught the younger kids. Um, I I had, we had certain things that we had to cover as part of the curriculum, but I was trying to make it more relevant to the students. So I thought it was important to let the students help to create the course. So
Yes.
we would decide on themes together as a class, and then I would find materials that I had to teach them that I thought would fit with those themes. So teenagers are interested in, we would do a unit on love and romance, and then I would
Mhm.
put Romeo and Juliet in that one,
Nice.
or family was always a big one. We would read like The House on Mango Street, in
Yeah.
that one, and the meaning of life and death. The seniors were thinking about heavy things like that, and
Yes.
so and I also, I think that there's a lot of material that aren't in the classics that really speak to the students too. So I felt like it was important to kind of dig for other things. And
Yes.
luckily, there's great material out there. So, for example, when I lived in California, about 30% of my students were Filipino, and there
Oh,
was
wow.
almost no Filipino literature in our curriculum at all. So I had to go
Wow.
look for it. But San Francisco was a place with a lot of resources, so I was able to find some things, and they really
Fantastic.
appreciated that. So.
One of the reasons why I asked the question is, I didn't develop a love of reading until later in school. Really, I was high school, and I remember the teacher assigned us Animal Farm, and it was a bear for me to start reading it. But once I read it, it blew my mind, right? And that was the thing that turned me on to reading. And I'm like, whoa, this is really good. This is really cool. So that was one of those moments for me. Yeah,
That's so powerful. That's a great story.
yeah. And Susan, as a nurse, when did you retire? You want to tell us a little bit about your career as a nurse?
Sure. I love to talk about my career as a nurse. I always had adult patients by my own choice. I, I worked in medical surgical nursing of inpatients, people who were in the hospital. And I went to nursing school and had my first jobs in Philadelphia. And then I came here and I worked at Holy Spirit and I worked at Hershey Medical Center,
Okay.
always with adults. And I probably learned the most. I learned everywhere, not just nursing school and not just integrating yourself into the workforce. I also learned important medical surgical information no matter where I was.
So when did you retire?
Um, you know what? About 3 years ago.
Okay. Okay. And what got you interested in that field?
Secondarily, I was interested in that field because I was taking a course of, I was getting a bachelor's degree in psychology. And I went to a course that was psychology of the central nervous system. And it ended up having a lot of physiology in it. And I thought, wow, I really like learning that. So that's what I should do. So instead of going for a master's degree and a subsequent PhD in psychology, because I thought I would be a clinical psychologist, I decided to go to the nursing route. And
Have you spoken with any nurses that you worked with that are still in the field and working today, and have they shared with you their experience in working, in this COVID kind of situation?
I have been contacted by some of my friends from nursing at Holy Spirit, not lately, and it's not, and because of the situation that we all find ourselves in, we only communicated by Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we thank you, for your, working with, and taking care of people for so many years. Thank you. That's awesome. So Michelle, thank you. And Susan, thank you so much. Great reading. Awesome job. And thank you all for joining us. Please don't be strangers. Sign up again. We'd like, you guys to sign up. You can sign up as much as you'd like. We'll be here until September 30th, 2021. 2021. We're going to be reading for the next 11 years here. No, who knows? Who knows, right? This may be the start of something big. But we also want to thank Chris for pitching in here this morning and standing in for Madison, who has her SAT this morning. 11th grade, my little baby, right? So thank you, Chris, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us this morning, this beautiful Saturday morning, being a part of this reading. We're here every single day at 11 o'clock. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.